For some of us, all you need for a good time is for the entire world to be against you.
But we're not in the clear, right?
Not while we're in this city.
Here are the 10 best survival horror games of all time, ranked. Number 10, Condemned Criminal Origins. The launch of the Xbox 360 was certainly an important event in the history of video games. Its launch titles, like Perfect Dark Zero, not so much. The one exception of the bunch was the creepy city scrounger, Condemned Criminal Origins. Players take control of Ethan Thomas, an FBI agent investigating a series of grisly murders committed by the mysterious killer known as the Matchmaker. Needless to say, it's a bit violent. Weighty melee combat and grimy locations, similar to the beloved classic BioShock, have led to this hidden gem gaining a reputation that grows stronger every year. Number 9. Soma. Frictional games changed the survival horror genre with their classic Amnesia series. For their follow-up, Soma, the developers swapped out the rustic catacombs and sewers for futuristic ocean facilities and space guns. Taking place in the 22nd century, Soma's dimly lit, cavernous bunkers tell the story of Simon Jarrett, a man living in 2015 until a near-fatal accident throws his consciousness into a new body, now stored in a futuristic facility on the floor of the ocean. Oh, and most of humanity has already died. Soma might not be very cheery, but its mature narrative will stay with players long after the journey ends. Number 8. Amnesia, The Dark Descent. Well, if it isn't our friends Fictional Games back at us again to give us some jump scares and bad vibes. Soma is an excellent follow-up to Amnesia, which broadened the narrative to thoughtful existential horror. But the original Amnesia, on the other hand, just wants to scare you over and over again. And it will. Released all the way back in 2010, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is still widely acclaimed and played even to this day. And why not? It practically reinvented survival horror with its first-person combat-free gameplay. And despite the many attempts of imitators, no game has quite replicated its uniquely spooky thrills. Number 7. Dead Space. While the original Dead Space will forever remain an all-time classic, this entry on the list is its surprisingly excellent 2023 remake. Though much of the plot, its signature limb-cutting mechanics, and the unlucky protagonist Isaac Clarke are still present in this version, Moto Studios took advantage of the 9th-gen console's power to drastically re-render the USG Ishimura with HDR, advanced lighting, and ray tracing, as well as some much improved physics and zero-gravity sections. It took a long time for Dead Space fans to finally get a follow-up after the closure of Visceral Games, and thankfully, it was worth the wait. Number 6. Silent Hill 2. Widely considered one of the greatest video games ever made, Konami's follow-up to Silent Hill cemented these offbeat third-person games as a blockbuster franchise. And that's rather surprising, given the unflinching look it offers into failed relationships, haunting regrets, or even worse, apathy towards your own actions. Is this really anyone's idea of a good time? Well, yes. James Sunderland's exploration into his own psyche might resemble a classic Resident Evil, but the true villain of the game is far more devastating than any shadowy organization. Number 5. Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil is a formative franchise in survival horror. To say it is synonymous with the genre would be an understatement. But for a while there, it looked like Capcom's zombie-packed adventure would be decidedly action-based, much to the chagrin of longtime fans. Thankfully, in 2019, the remake of Resident Evil 2 split the difference. Players were given far more control of the camera and combat aiming, but the environments were tweaked just enough with claustrophobic choke points to overwhelm players. It was such a success, Capcom greenlit even more remakes, all of which have seen similar praise. More on that in just a bit. Number 4. Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. Silicon Lights has a long and storied history in the video game industry, and not all of it is particularly complimentary, but their biggest success, Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, has only grown in reputation since its release in 2002, using a series of unusual sanity-based tricks, such as informing the player their saves and memory card had been erased, or your character's body parts imploding, then flashing away as if nothing ever happened, left a strong impact on players. As a third-person action-adventure game, it certainly has the stumbly-bumbly camera and movement of early survival horror, but the Lovecraftian story and strange gags still hold up to this day. Number 3. System Shock 2. Though not the original cyber horror first-person game, System Shock 2 took everything from the original and got right back into the creepy highs with AI antagonist Shota, delivering her signature chilling quotes and cool anger directed towards the player. The combat is still stiff and exploration is straightforward, but facing off against the godlike computer and sterile hallways still works remarkably well. Over 20 years after its release, developer Night Drive Studios produced an enhanced edition, which was a free upgrade for PC players while also bringing this classic game to consoles for the very first time. Number 2. Resident Evil 4. When the Resident Evil 4 remake was first rumored, many accused Capcom of needlessly taking a still great game from 2005 rather than making something new. And sure, the RE4 remake is a faithful recreation of a great game, but when it plays this well and looks this good, is that really a problem? Leon Kennedy returns to save the president's daughter once again, and combat the monstrosities lurking in the autumn woods and dimly lit rain-soaked homes and facilities. It's not just a simple graphical boost. Capcom took the time to refine the controls and mechanics such as vehicles to modern standards. It may not have been expected or even wanted, but Resident Evil 4 did win over skeptical fans in the end. Number 1. The Last of Us. There's so much that's already been said about The Last of Us. That's easy to forget it was anticipated to be zombie Uncharted from Naughty Dog. Thankfully, it was not. The Last of Us uses the trappings of survival horror to make a broader statement on the human condition in its complex and messy narrative. Much like the world around Joel and Ellie, resources and circumstances never perfectly align, keeping players on edge while the fractious yet familiar relationship between the pair deepens. The horror is not only in loss, but the fear of loss, and how it transforms traditional morality to a relative set of objective goals. And it's pretty fun to shoot the zombies. I mean, it is still a game after all. And there you have it, the 10 best survival horror games of all time, ranked. Are you scared yet? I know I am, so I'm definitely going to be sticking around here on Game Rant. I'd suggest you do the same. We have plenty more videos, articles, and features, so keep clicking around, and we'll see you soon.